got to send it to me.
So we will try to get, this session should be pretty quick, so we'll try to get you guys out early, so you guys can get your Saturday started. All right? I'll get through it pretty fast. So let me get out of this. And we'll go.
And that's what it's under, to signature away is her name.
Okay.
Okay, so let me make sure I got all the stuff, and then we'll get started here. Okay, so did you guys already get all your session stuff for session 10? So what's in there? Did you guys make it senior flow?
Pretty sure I did, yeah.
Okay, you do not, it's up here.
My husband's uncle just kindergarten, or like just took kindergarten, they dressed up for the 100 days of school as old 100-year-old
yes.
people.
Oh,
Look at
that is so cute.
Look at that.
They did our 100 day and they did some fun stuff. We had to count out 100 things. I was so sick the day before, so yeah, that's really cute. I wish we would have done that. That's really cute.
You know what, we did that years ago. So with my youngest one, I put baby powder in his hair.
That's so cute. I wish we would have done that.
Oh,
Really
it was
good.
so funny.
Next year, I guess I'll have to do that.
Yeah, I had to put like lotion,
Oh, and then
and then I did, but I just put lotion on my hands.
Oh, there you
And then
go.
I put it on his hair, and then I put baby powder on his hair.
that's so cute.
It was so funny.
So, like I said, the videotape didn't work, so we'll go through the parking lot and let Mama Jimbo again, but then we'll be done. So we'll get through this so you guys can have your Saturday. So, session 10 is universal screening. So we're gonna go back to the bottom of the pyramid, but this is intentional. There's a reason behind it. So I will explain that here in just a minute. So as always, we want to thank our funders, Department of Human Services, the Colorado Health Foundation, Temple Fuel Foundation, and Mile 99 Way. Without them, we couldn't do this work, so we always want to thank them. So today's agenda, we'll go through the learning objectives and logistics, and we're going to look at some research and statistics, environmental risks, and gathering information, which we touched on a little bit, which you guys did all on your own without, you guys are going to be prompted, so you guys are on it. Then we're going to do a fun activity and create an eco map. Then we're going to look at some indicators of social emotional concerns. And then we're going to do a video analysis, which will be fun. Choosing a screening tool, talking about what that looks like, cultural variations, and some resources here in Colorado. And then we're going to do wrap up quality improvement. So first, participants will understand the importance of universal screenings to measure a child's social emotional development and how to identify areas of concern, because we know that some areas of concern can be risk factors for kids. Evidence has shown that, so it's important to look at those. You'll learn about the social emotional screening tools that are available, and participants will receive Colorado State resources on universal screenings and evaluations, which is kind of nice to see where the statistics lie in Colorado. I find that pretty interesting. So our ground rules are be on time, open communication, time for discussion, and avoid side conversations. Do you guys want to add anything to that? All right. So let's go over the handouts you guys have. I'll pull mine up. Oh, parking lot. So again, if you guys, I will bring that mindset that I had for the spotter schedule board as a reminder. If there's anything else you guys want to throw in the parking lot, let us know, or you guys feel free to come in there and add it yourselves. So session, I'm sorry, I have this. Pull this thing up here. Here's my paper I'm looking for. So handout 10.1 is Colorado definitions of screening and evaluation, because they look a little bit different, so it's kind of nice to see what the differences are. 10.2 is an in brief early childhood mental health. We're going to be using that while we watch a video. 10.3 is a blank eco map. We'll be using that to guide our activity in a little while. 10.4 is an environmental screening questionnaire. 10.5, social and emotional screening for infants, toddlers, and preschoolers, and it's specifically for Colorado. 10.6 is a list of resources, and 10.7 is your class seats. So again, you guys brought all this delicious food. If you guys want seconds or anything more of it, definitely would like some of the recipes. It's so yummy. Feel free to grab that, grab a Coke, there's water in the kitchen, whatever you guys need. So again, we're going back to the bottom, and the reason why we're doing this is because we're going to be using the information that we learned in this session for session 11, because it's going to go up here, and we're going to take the information we learned from the screening, and we're going to use it in that targeted social emotional supports. So this is for all children, and it's a great practice to use when having kids coming to your school, or someone brand new coming into the school, or your practice. It's really, really nice to kind of look at. And even as a parent, I use some of these just to kind of reference for my own kids. It's nice to see. So first we're going to look at this video. It's from the Center of Developing Child at Harvard University. It's a really nice video. I like the way they state some of it. And some of the statistics is pretty shocking after we look at it. But it's very, very interesting, and I really like the way they organized it. So we'll watch that, and then you guys can use your session 10.2. It's that in brief, early childhood. Yes, the mental health one. We can look at that. I'm sorry, that one's just more information, but it kind of goes with it, so.
What do we want for our children? What's our goal? Our goal is to have productive citizens that are going to be part of thriving communities. So how do we get from here to there?
As we grow up and as we move into becoming functioning members of society, our mental health is an important part of how we perform our responsibilities as adults. Mental health can't be separated out from cognitive development and language development and social competence, and they all have their roots early on in either a very sturdy or a weak foundation.
We certainly know that infants and very young children can exhibit behaviors, emotional behaviors, motor behaviors, which are predictive in certain cases of subsequent mental illness.
What are the early signs of mental health problems?
I think that when people look at children and think about mental health problems, that they have in mind often is the kinds of mental health problems that we see in adults. They're looking to see the equivalent of a depressed adult in a child, or the equivalent of a schizophrenic adult in a child. And I think that because of the nature of development, that when children have mental health problems, they just look different.
Some of the early signs of greater risk for mental health problems are usually not called mental health problems by people. They're usually called, things like behavior problems, or a child who has difficulty controlling his emotions. Some of these may be early signs of what might be a mental health problem later, and some of which may be just differences among perfectly healthy children.
So what does good mental health look like in a child?
Good mental health looks like a child who's curious and interested in the world and wants to learn and can sit and reflect at times about what's going on. It's the ability to experience love, affection, emotions, get upset when things are upsetting, and bring yourself back into levelness without needing intense intervention.
How do mental health impairments develop in early childhood?
21st century science at the molecular level is very clear that all aspects of brain function are the result of an interaction between genetics and experience. Mental illness, as most people think about it, has a very heavy genetic component. Mental health, behavior, personality, also has a genetic component, but it's much more malleable in the face of environmental influences.
Genes and experiences, as far as nature is concerned, are just different ways of setting up operating systems, brain systems, neurons.
What happens when a child experiences what we call toxic stress, severe experiences that can be damaging to its developing architecture? Those toxic experiences essentially create this unstable environment, this unstable foundation.
If sound mental health provides a foundation of stability for a child's development, mental health problems can be thought of like a wobbly table. With the child or a table, there may be many reasons for instability. Identifying which factor is causing instability is the first step towards solving the problem. So how do we restore stability to a child's mental health?
We can detect the early signs of instability, recognizing what these signs are, provides the child with the opportunity then to be placed with healthcare professionals who are trained to develop a more balanced set of skills on the emotional control side.
The prescription is to provide support for parents and in that environment in order to reduce conflict. And that, in turn, will lead to a reduction in dysregulated behavior in the infant and young child.
Most potential mental health problems will not become mental health problems if we respond to them early. Providing the right kinds of supports and intervention early on will reduce the extent to which this will be a potentially more serious problem later.
So any thoughts on that video?
It was really short.
Very short, yes. Pretty interesting, no? Early intervention, right?
Yeah.
And I guess too, I think, and that's just part of my own, something that it's just kind of one of those own things, one of my own things, my own personality, that I've developed as a belief that's not correct, is that mental health usually is just in adults. Not in a baby or early childhood, but it can be in anybody. And so what does that look like? And we never really think as an infant or a child, at least I don't, that it could be mental health issues going on. And how do we help them? Just the same with all other children, right? So
It's really helpful too if you have all the information. You know, I mean, years ago, I had a little girl, sweet little girl, and she was, gosh, maybe 6 months when she came to me, maybe a little bit younger. And she had a really hard time engaging with other people. You know, I mean, and it continued. And I didn't know very much about what was going on at home. You know, I just knew what I needed to do to help her feel calm. Right, you know, she needed more support from me, she needed me to hold her more, you know, and then as she started walking as a little 9-month-old, that behavior never really changed. She was still real clingy, and she, you know, it was like, almost like she was depressed. That's how it manifested to me. And so, years later, I found out that both of her parents had problems with alcohol and marijuana use, and there was a lot of dysfunction in the family. If I would have had just a little inkling of that, you know, in the beginning, it would have made a world of difference for me.
for sure.
Because then I would feel like, you know, I could support her better.
And you have that, yeah, and you have that understanding piece more down. Yes, and that part is the most important part, is gathering all that information. And how do you do it sometimes? Because sometimes it's difficult.
Her sister committed suicide, so there was a lot of different family dynamics going on, you know. But as you get those pieces later on, it kind of falls into place about what you're seeing.
It's so true.
It was just devastating.
Miss Patty in her office has this picture. It's a drawing, and it's of a child kind of coming out of a puzzle, and they're kind of putting the pieces together of themselves. And it's so true. The more pieces we have before we even have that child, the more powerful it is, because we're able to help them, and it's kind of like we're starting the race a little bit ahead of schedule rather than way behind. So it does make all the difference. Thanks for sharing that, Amy.
Well, and with the mental health, with early childhood, what the video was talking about is that by intervening when they're younger, we're better able to redirect. The longer we wait to intervene, the harder it is to redirect. It's one of the reasons as a school counselor, I started in college and I kept moving down because I kept feeling like I could make more of an impact. And one of the things that makes me sad is that very many Colorado schools don't actually have school counselors in elementary school because we reserve it for middle and high school. And granted, they need it too, but having a lack of support services in elementary school when we could, these problems that are manifesting are not getting taken care of. And then by the time they're in middle school, yes, we can help, but it's, it would have been a lot easier 4 or 5 years ago. And I think a lot of it comes back to those core beliefs as we as a population, and before I became this, I probably would have said that too, is that this is something about adults, it's not for kids. And, a lot of it's just support. I mean, it's what we're doing with the pyramid, right?
Exactly.
So.
Exactly, and I think the scary thing, we'll get into research in a little bit, but we have an astonishing better rate at helping these kids before 3rd grade. And they're even kind of research is showing that it's even earlier. So if we can get to them before that, our chances are going to be way better than what they are until we wait until the problems are really arising. It's scary. It's really scary. So universal screening, it's a general screening. It's very rapid. It's kind of like you're taking a camera and taking a snapshot of that child exactly where they're at. And you're going to do it for all children. You can find out a lot of information with these general universal screenings. Individualized screening is an informal or formal process of determining the developmental status of a child. Screening and evaluation within Child Find in Colorado, so you have that as well. So an evaluation is when we actually send them in and we say, okay, we might have some issues going on. Maybe we think it's speech, maybe we think it's something going on with sensory, and they're actually going to do specific things to see where that kiddo's at. At screening, we're just seeing where they are. We just want to see where they're at. Are they kind of normal ranges, that kind of thing. It might be a checklist, something very simple. So reviewing the research of the young children who need mental health services, it's estimated that fewer than 10% receive services. So that's kind of scary to think about. 10%. 90% are going without. That's really sad. And how do we help them? I mean, that's scary. That's really scary to think about. Links exist between earliest emotional development and later social behavior, which we've talked about. Links exist between early risk factors, poor outcomes, and violence. Secure attachment has been found to be related to enhanced cognitive, social, and emotional development throughout childhood and early adolescence. And there's that one that I was telling you about. By 3rd grade, programs for children with antisocial behaviors are mostly ineffective. That's really scary to think about. So, getting them as early as possible. So these statistics are specific for Colorado. In 2007, 13.3% of children ages 2 to 17 had a parent report that a doctor told them their child has autism, developmental delays, depression or anxiety, ADD, ADHD, or behavioral conduct problems. It's a lot. Of Colorado's 350,000 children under the age of 6, approximately 31,500 are estimated to have serious emotional disturbances. That is a lot. That is a lot of kids. And this is from 2008. So think about that. For 2017, I guarantee those numbers have gone up. Approximately 4,000 of these children receive mental health services through Colorado's public mental health system. Only 4,000. That's shocking. Let's see here. Observe early childhood education settings for infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. So this is Colorado's child care consultation. They assist teachers and their families to identify your children's needs and develop interventions. They train teachers and families in the community setting. They link families to mental health service when needed. All of these efforts have contributed to the significant reduction in emotional disturbances and both improved child interactions and classroom quality. But that's who have received services. So getting those services to more kids, we're going to have way better outcomes. And it's going to make all of your jobs as educators a lot easier. So what information do we gather when concerns arise? Environmental supports for children, home and the community. So risk factors, what does their home life look like? Key adult-child interactions, behaviors that predict important child social emotional outcomes. child's social, emotional development, and functioning. So really looking at those. So we know children in poverty are going to be at greater risks. We know if they've had some of those traumatizing things happening. If Annie had that information before, she would have been better equipped to help out overall. So here again, risk factors: poverty, non-flexible work situations, no maternal or paternal leave, little support from other family members or neighbors. So if you just move here and you don't have those people to help you out, challenging relationships within their own families. I know we have got that. We've got pulls on both sides of the families that makes our home life a little bit more stressful with in-laws and that kind of thing. It's hard sometimes. It's hard being a cohesive unit, especially when everyone's not on your same page. Substance abuse, like Annie was talking about, domestic violence. A lot of kids see this and we don't even know it. We don't even know it. And that's scary to think about. Children who are poor are much more likely to develop behavior problems with prevalence rates that approach 30%. 30%. That's really high.
And the children that are in that poverty range, a lot of those parents are single moms.
For
They're
sure.
single dads.
For sure. And man, hands down to those single moms. I don't know how they do it. I do not know how they do it. From 2000 to 2006, the number of children in Colorado living in poverty increased by 73%, the highest increase of any state in the nation. That's powerful right there. In 2010, the estimated number of children under the age of 6 years living below poverty level was 74,608. So again, this is 2010. I guarantee that number's gone up, unfortunately. So, universal screening, understanding the differences between informal and formal screening tools, because there is a difference and both are very useful. So, informal are going to be your checklist, your rating scales, your rubrics. So, lots of times we use these in classrooms. So, when we kind of looking at the class as a whole, like, okay, great, they're all doing this, they're all doing this. We kind of go down and look at it. Kind of a rating scale, if it's on a range, rubrics, we're kind of looking at that and making sure all kids are kind of right there together. Formal assessment screenings can be classified as having norm reference results. They provide information on how the performance of an individual compares with that of others. So they're looking at it and they're saying, if you're 6 years old, this is where you should be at. And they're really giving you something to compare it to. They're really showing you this is where that child should be at. So gathering information about family supports and resources. So informal screening, so you're going to have those conversations, making sure they're in the door. Once you form that relationship, you're going to learn a lot more about where they're at and how they're functioning as a family, what kind of supports they have. You're going to know by who picks them up. Does grandma pick them up a lot? Or, are they the first ones there in your practice and the last ones to leave and the same person's picking them up? They probably don't have many resources helping them out if that's the case. I know working in a daycare, we have those handful of kids that are the first ones there and the last ones to leave. So guiding questions, kind of asking, so do you have any help this weekend? I know you said you're doing that, and just kind of picking out that information. Ecomax we're going to touch on here in a little bit. And then formal screenings and assessments, really looking at that child. An environmental screening questionnaire, it's called an ESQ, and it's something that you don't give the parents to go home to fill out. You actually do it with a kind of like an informal interview and as a checklist. So gathering information from families regarding their interests, priorities, like we've talked about, concerns, and everyday routines and activities is best accomplished by conversations. We've talked about that. When possible, doing repeated observations and examining essential caregiving characteristics, response quality, synchrony, and mutuality, which we've talked about. So, creating an eco-map, a diagram of families' relationships, resources, and supports. So, this was developed in 1975 by Ann Hartman. She used to do work in social work. It's a tool to represent the social relationships and social systems that people have created. So it's kind of what we've done before, like you guys are doing, mapping out your resources in the community, but more based on the family's level, and allowing a provider to understand the resources and supports that a family has. And so really looking at it, does the energy flow both ways, or is this a stressful relationship for you? Kind of looking at that, but more based along the family and what that looks like. So these are our child family vignettes. So you guys will be working with these kids from here on out, all the way from session 10 to session 18. We got Lupe, Maria, Casey, Quan, and Ella. And actually, you can go to the next slide, Brett. So you guys can decide. you guys can think about, these are, we'll keep going, but just so you know, you guys are going to be working with this child is going to be your new baby in your practice. You're going to be really thinking about and applying everything we're learning to this child in this vignette. There will be information missing, but we'll get to that. So this is an example of an eco map. Tenuous, stressful, energy flow is kind of the key. You could make up your own key, however you want to do it. But this family, they listed all the different places that they have resources in: recreation, religion, healthcare, work, social welfare, extended family, school, friends. And so for every family, these kind of look different. So energy flow goes back and forth between extended family and their family, so that's nice. So energy flow is only going one way towards work, so it kind of just shows you that thing. It's kind of nice for families to see and for you to see kind of how you can support them. So we're going to make this fun, creating an eco map. So tools for assessing, developing, or coordinating natural, informal, and formal resources. So you're going to identify the family's strengths and resources like we just talked about. You're going to identify information that empowers families to get the services and supports they need. Maybe there's a resource out there that they didn't even know was there. Just like you didn't know about getting that extra money for lunches and stuff, there's so many resources out there for single moms that maybe they didn't know existed. And if you can pull that useful information for them, you're giving them a leg up. It is so helpful for them to kind of figure out, man, oh wow, I can actually have the bus come help me take my kiddo here or there or anything. You know, there's a free family workshop in this stage, go check it out. A lot of times there's resources there that they have no idea about, so really helping them find those. And we've talked about that before. Promotes decision making about current and needed services. So maybe they didn't even realize that they needed some service that is out there. It provides a visual of strengths and gaps in resources and relationships. So again, these are some community resources. We've talked about a lot of these before. Playgroups, even just kind of connecting them to another parent is super helpful. Actually, the teachers over at Green Mountain just did this for me. We live in Lakewood, but all of our kids' friends are up here because I've worked up here for so long. And she was like, you know, Jackson's mom's really looking for a good friend for Gus to, or looking for a friend for Jackson to play with. Would you guys ever want to do a play date? And really, she thought she was helping Jackson out, but really she's helping me out because they're all going to be going to kindergarten together, and we don't do play dates. So I'm like, this is great. Now we have got one more. So just making that little connection goes a long way. So these are just all kinds of different resources in the community that just some ideas. So now we're going to make it a little fun. So rather than drawing it out, you guys do have a blank eco map in your handouts, but we don't have to use that. You guys are going to pick your new baby, any one you want. Yeah.
It's a team?
Yep. So this is your baby together.
Amy, do you want to
It's
join her?
here. I'll pull up the definition for you.
That might be more.
There's a.
Enjoyable.
That was it. Yeah. Oh, we got two in there. Kind of a hidden baby. There you go. Okay, perfect. There you go. Perfect. That sounds good. So you guys can take the resources in this bucket. You guys can make up your own key. Maybe this one means stressful. Maybe this one means the energy flows both ways. And then you could use the cups as different resources, and you can write different names on it. However you guys want to do it, it's totally up to you. So just get creative, have fun. I know it's the end of the day. Does anyone have any questions? So use your, oh, one more thing, I'm sorry. So you guys are only going to read the information, this information sheet on, let's see here.
Yeah, that's
I think you got the hidden one, that's why I didn't want to
Oh,
write.
maybe that's it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So you guys are only going to read the information on the left, the rest we're going to save for later, so you can just read this. The rest on the right, you're not going to read, only the information on the left. And then the other stuff is for later. So
I'm going to
only
put it
the
back
information
on the
on the left.
picture so you have it.
Okay, there you go. And Annie, I'm going to answer your
So
question
you
right
could
now.
use the cups to be the people, or you could make little balls of Play-Doh if you like Play-Doh and you want to go back to that. And then you could just connect them however you want to get them.
So I'm watching and listening to them, and I.
I was asking.
She will bite the child's arm and kick the child on the head and shoulder. She is also bitten a caregiver, and the caregiver attempted to intervene. This pattern of behavior may take place several times a day. Both the biting and hitting are done with intensity and have left bruises and marks on all children and staff. The caregivers in the classroom report that they have never had a child who bites this because they are sorry. When she is unsuccessful in getting the object that interests her, she collapses on the floor and screams for up to 13 minutes at a time. During her time, she is inconsolable. She is difficult to breathe and she will not know Jesus to the object. Eventually she calms down and is able to breathe. Practice or engage with the activity of her. The staff of the University has told Ms. Ramkar, India's foster mother, that one of the other parents has threatened to withdraw the child and the staff can stop India from biting. The staff is very concerned about their ability to help India.
So EC doesn't stand for anything, it's like ecological now. So what the scientific shows is like so eco. Yeah. Always hoping for like a really cool like ECO. Yeah. And if you're missing information on your kiddo about, you're like, well, we really need this information. You guys are more than welcome to make it up and just kind of jot down what you made up about your kid, so fill it in. So whatever you guys want to make up about it.
We can make it up.
Yep, if you are missing info, add it in there. You can totally make it up.
Or if it's what you need.
Yeah.
So you have
Are we supposed to get the nurse teacher?
Oh, fine. No, it's not enough.
So,
Not if you had like 3 big giant venti copies of big rings.
oh, with the,
I would have to sometimes, like.
Yeah, it's at work.
foster.
But yeah, the thing we,
It doesn't have to be a foster.
And then they also have interaction bioparents.
So you can make your people out of play.
Well, maybe monthly.
Well, not people,
so we have a thing,
here's friends.
Oh, okay.
And then you can connect those straws.
well, and it's a meeting, and
I,
she
you know,
knows.
whatever you're feeling.
So.
Alright, so we're gonna make this.
Do we need more stuff?
Yeah. That's that.
Oh, to not have. I have done it. Yes, it was done.
It can be either way. Usually in a foster parent role, it's
Sounds like, but he does cross. So I guess our first pick is our adoption. Okay. So,
yeah. Yeah, foster parents.
The one in the front.
Oh, yeah, so So when we have them there, so basically their supports are going in.
Yep. Because I don't understand, I know I understand, so I don't
Yeah.
understand it.
So they are going to do it in the natural environment. So they're coming to their homes to do it, and they're going to be doing everything at home. But we always want to copy that because when we go to make their goals, we're going to really base it on
We're not required for providing services because the state provides that is.
So sometimes their speech therapists will come to school and share what they're doing with that.
It's usually someone else or.
Yeah, but they do it at their house.
So a school could like, with the interventionist.
I mean, it wouldn't be best practice.
Well, of course.
Crazy.
So let's start with our family, just to pay the teachers' rules of support.
Depending on what
Both
preference
ways.
for the children. They're both so good.
Sounds like
So good.
we're taking right up. Because eventually they came around to the idea.
You guys can write on the cups too if you need to.
This is the family. Continuous here. And it goes to okay. So work. It doesn't say that there's
Can we get more cups?
He works, okay, they're not using cups, they use cups, right?
Do you have any flags?
Yeah, we have one flag.
Oh, you have flags.
So there is no friends. Well, you can say that's friends. Yeah.
We have more if you need them.
That's support either way.
You guys want more? I can dig some more out.
Cold chocolate, I don't
So you Tupperware. If you,
Can I make it better?
yeah, you can do whatever you want. This is your baby. Juan's your guy. Do whatever you want.
Let's say mom goes to a day out. Mom goes to work. Family, bring your family. The grandma lives in green.